Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Is it going to be turnaround Tuesday? Another rally back up? We shall see. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Jacob. Afternoon, Charles. Good morning, Martinez. Good morning, George. Good morning, Donald. Good morning to people hiding behind the scenes. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Bob should be here this afternoon before Fed tomorrow, so make sure you get your questions ready. Good morning, Christo. All right, so where do we sit today? Remember, Fed day tomorrow. Employment cost index was out, pulling back a little from on an annual basis, which is not up here, but still, Tim Ross was tweeting out that it's still elevated level and key thing that the Fed does watch, as they've said. So the employment cost index on an annual basis is still running very hot. Home prices just came out about 5 minutes ago. Still not declining as much as forecast. So those house prices holding in there, 8.2% year over year, forecast at 8. So that coming in previous, it's down from previous, but still year over year high numbers. Housing still hanging in there. 15 minutes after the open, Chicago PMI still deep in contraction, still forecast 43, consensus 45. We'll just go with right around 44, somewhere maybe just slightly lower than previous, but let's keep an eye on that. Again, minor number. Consumer confidence 30 minutes after the open. Let's see if that's still holding up. It's the forecast of 109 versus 108.3 previous. Then we get the Dallas Fed Services Index. Remember, we had their manufacturing. Now we get their services index. Let's see if that's how much better it is. Its forecast coming minus 12. Last was minus 19. So going to be paying attention to that just from a recessionary point of view. And that's pretty much it for the day. Stock market map. Something's trying to bounce. Pfizer released earnings, a gap down. Tesla's China insurance numbers were very, very poor for their number of cars registers. McDonald's had earnings and so far is gapping down. So we had XOM slight gap down. They missed on revenue but beat on EPS. McDonald's was a beat, by the way, and that was a gap down. Also, there's McDonald's right there. You see communication services holding up this morning when consumer defensive energy still with the pullback in crude, pullback in energy stocks. The virtually 100% market expectations, 99.1 for the 25 basis point tomorrow, and we're still in greed mode. By the way, we are in negative gamma. The gamma flip is about 40-70 area, so that can accelerate moves to the upside and downside. Right now we're trading 40-42. So we have areas to still with negative gamma run even back to the upside. I already went through some earnings. UPS was a beat and they were gapping up. It's still right in the middle of consolidation. Caterpillar was sort of interesting. That is a gap down. They beat on revenue, missed on earnings per share due to cost impacts for materials. So that was interesting. And Spotify, I didn't see their earnings, but I saw that was a pretty decent gap up. All right. All right, where do we sit? Good morning, Anissa. Good morning, Options 22. Coco, don't start with me. So we get the little bounce. By the way, I'll just show you where. I'll give you a little quick teaching. So how do you know where to put this on the next drop or what bar to go to? If you're watching the 1 hour, do you go to here? Do you go to this flat base? Here's what I do. And here's how I've tested it out. I go to the higher time frame and watch where the pausing bar was. See how this bar did not reconnect with this bar? So this is the pausing bar. So that's the one that became the new harmonic anchor. That's how you do it. Okay, for the people that want to learn, so you're not dependent on me and see, so that's where. All right, so that's how it came down, giving us the next key area of 4,009. And we would drop down to 4,750 at 7:30 with the numbers coming out. We've had a pretty big takeoff. I did not take them as bullishly, but obviously the market did. The market's taking everything as bullish. Right now, what am I watching for? Now we're getting another pausing bar, so we can lower these again. If we break through that very well established lows, 39.95, the bottom of the rotation zone will be key, now reinforced with the harmonic. Then 39.82, then about 39.70. I'm more focused on choppy to up. Still, I'm utilizing the key harmonics. Let me pull this line off for now. The retracement harmonics. So, the key area I'm watching is 40.58 to 40.71. Remember, the gamma flip is at 40, technically 40.69. So this is a very key area of resistance. If the rally continues, we close above 40.71. I will be targeting the most recent high area. And anything above 40.83.75 takes us into a potential double top territory. A little double top territory. So I'm paying attention to that going into the Fed move tomorrow. Now we're not anywhere close to that, but those are the things I'm targeting to the upside if we have strong market internals. We're trying to rotate back up on the 4 hour. Remember, the 4 hour is going up. The daily's headed down. And the weekly is trying to roll over. So, could we get another push higher before we get everything to top, and then potentially roll over tomorrow? We could see it, but we'll have to be prepared. Where do we sit? Hey, Jason, thank you for being here. Thank you. UPS beat on EPS, miss on revenues. Thanks for putting that in, Dave. Mike, we looked at ALS on one of the Sunday live streams. It has triggered an inverse head and shoulders, and the weekly is gapping up 4% this morning. I could maybe get to that again. Hey, Waka thinks it should be a down day. Pop and drop. We shall see. I can't get overly bearish yet. I can get in if we form an intraday topping minor pattern. I, of course, will shift to the bearish, but I can't get overly unless we get a significant topping pattern or we start breaking below the rotation zone. I can't get overly bearish. Can get intraday if we do get a topping pattern. So the NASDAQ bouncing back to the 200. After dipping into the rotation zone, let me just go over what I'm watching for here. The major area, if we do take off into the open, 12,091 to 12,144 is my key topping area. Again, if we did get a strong rally, close above 12,144, I'd be watching for to play out with the higher harmonics and potential double. Key support on a pullback in the open is about 11.970. Then I'm using 11.925. If we do drop below the lows, here will be, I will be using these harmonics, not those harmonics. These harmonics, 11.816, 11.761. Let's see where that plays into with the higher time frames. And still well within the rotation zone. And below that, my very key support area is about 11,700. Dow is still caught in consolidation. So not much that I'm watching in here right now with the Dow unless it breaks below this 33,575 or really starts breaking out above about 34,050. Russell Russell. Now, if we get another strong rotation up, it will be a triple top, and the double will be off in the Russell. If we break above 1903, my major target area is 1915. And again, for the downside, with this pause right here, you can use that. Will probably be a pausing bar before the last pausing bar was here. And you see how it came back down to this 1883 area. Now it's not official on the 4-hour yet, but this is what I'm going to be focusing on. If this does become a pausing bar, would give me the 1876 to 1872, major levels 1867. Spiders, spiders. Little gap up. So if it does roll over, it would be the gap fill back to 463 cents. Dropping below there. Also, that's where we will use the pausing bar. Come on. Where is my... There we go. With this gap up, we don't officially have a pausing bar. I'm thinking it might be here. So I'm going to be utilizing this 39.33 to 38.35. If that's not a pausing bar, those levels have to get updated. It is going into a clear path move down here. And the next key level below there is about 397.10. To the upside, I'm using about 402.70. And then 403.90 are my key levels to the upside. So far right there, and even this just takes us into the daily rotation zone. Also keep in mind the prior breakout area. Prior breakout area is right around here, this 399. So we have 399.01 to 399.33 would be a fairly major support area for me. On the Qs, well, I have to type in the right number of Qs. On the Qs, 290.27 was the close. 290.71 is where we should be gapping up into. So the first thing on any pullback would be to 290.27. We drop below there. I'm focusing on Thursday, the 26 lows. And that's coming in right around 288.50 with the rising daily rotation zone, the prior breakout level right here. So this is my key pullback area should we drop. Should we drop on any rally back up. Any rally back up, I'm watching for about 293. And then I'll just use my retracement, little minor retracement harmonics. 294.08 and 295.13 are the key levels to the upside. Let's get back to the DAX, which is still trying to invalidate the double, but not yet. Still needs to close below 14,961, but turning into a more of a sideways consolidation pattern. So nothing going on with that. Actually, the bottom of the rotation zone is getting out of the way if that does roll over. The notes, there is just not any great setups in the notes. So it's pretty much hands off. There's a scalp if it breaks below yesterday's low back to the 50, but that's very scalpy. Other than that, your major resistance is coming in about 115.08. Nothing there. Dollar index tried to push above 102 earlier, slamming into the other side of the rotation zone and coming back down now below 102. At this point, for me, it's now sit on hands through Fed meeting for the dollar. And either watching for the breakout or breakdown. The breakdown play is a quick trip to 100. That's what I'll be. If it does do the breakdown play, has not been able to get above the rotation zone just yet. Now we get above about this 102.30. Then target 102.80 to 103.07. The VIX pretty flat in here. Still not much going on. The only thing that'll we talked about this briefly. The only thing that will really catch my eye is if it does get a close above this 2171. Crude, little pullback, that key levels right here, and now watching for a cycles to get to the bottom. Close to oversold, still nowhere near the stop level, so I'm watching for a bounce play in crude, especially if it can get back above the already established minor high of 78.14. Natty gas just sitting grinding at this key right in front of that key harmonic, so nothing there. Gold confirmed but not triggered double. If this rotates back up, it'll probably take that double off the table. But it is confirmed but not triggered. What else? Nothing with copper just yet. Bouncing off the rotation zone. So I'll start watching for the bigger pullback now if we break through these lows. Not necessarily today, but over the next few days. What else? In currency news, the still trying to climb up that 50 basis points. The Japan JGB 10 years. If they start getting above it, my interest is peaked for the rollover play in the US dollar, Japanese yen, but can't get overly bearish until we drop below 129. Euro, come on, Euro. Little pull down to the rotation zone and then the bounce. So if we now start getting below today's lows in the rotation zone, I will be targeting a bigger pullback since we've tested the other side. Other than that, there's not a fantastic pattern. If we do rotate back up, it's 109.40 is the key target area. Pound, still nothing going on there. Bitcoin, a little bounce, but holding in a sideways consolidation with the rotation zone. Tesla, I have on the gap harmonics now. I will be watching. Here's the levels, 162, about 65. Then key 158, a close below 158, and this would need at least a 1 hour close. I will be watching for this gap fill back to 144.43. Keep in mind on the daily basis there is a key stop reduction area on any shorts is 153.50 to about 155 with the hooking up 50 in the rising rotation zone. So to the downside, it's risky shorts because they are aggressive still. Now, coming out of overbought conditions with cycles trying to roll over. Where else do we have? Let me catch up here. What did you want me to look at? AOS, Mike, is there a much larger daily double top on the ES minis? Is there a much larger double top? No, these, because, let me just double check. Again, you always have to measure stuff out. That qualified on the retracements. Why do I always measure stuff out? Because sometimes I don't want to make a mistake. Now, on the daily, see, here's the problem. The second and third targets cut through the candle bodies. If you're going to check it on the 4 hour, come on, scrolly. On the 4 hour, it wouldn't be on the daily. 4 hour just ekes in. It's still going to be a lower probability one. It could be utilized still. It could be utilized, but it's going to... I'd really be focused on the first target and then the 35.89. Since this, yeah, it still technically qualifies in the 4 hour, but when you get the final targets into just a single wick reversal, you really have to target these candle bodies down there. If that, and it's a long way off from still triggering, but you can keep an eye on that. And that will get me substantially, by the way, if we do break down below those lows, that will get me substantially bearish. Here's what you wanted to look at, AOS, which is still holding and a little gap up this morning after so far just a sideways movement. By the way, this is where now with this movement, I would use a key stop level of 55.41, and that would invalidate even before the technical stop on the inverse head and shoulders. That is the key level I'd be using on a closing basis for something like this, because you do have that double top in there. Now it rotates back up again, it becomes a triple, and then the stop level would change, but that would be a trailing stop level at that point for EOS or AOS. Where else? Thank you for putting in all the information. I'm just trying to catch up. Hey, Andrea. Let's see what Andrea has to say, because she is a realtor. Home sales data saying falling, but I wrote a buyer's offer yesterday, and in my area is still in multiple offers for homes under 250. Thank you for sharing that, Andrea. Again, Sterling shares car information because that's his business, and Andrea, realtor. So thank you for putting that in here. Gives us a little stuff from feet on the ground. So still multiple offers on the low. I mean, it's all relative to where you live, but you know, those people for the more affordable homes, I'm not going to call them lower end homes, more affordable homes, you're still getting multiple offers. Very interesting. I'm not praying for the market to do anything. Coco, we analyze both sides. Remember, it's still in. Why would I be praying for the market to do anything? It's still trailing from a long. Nothing breaks down yet. It's still trail from a longer term longs. Thanks for that info. Hey, William, how are you doing? All right. What else? I don't think I missed anything. Just want to peek back in at a couple of key stocks. Again, we'll be if we get that oil firm up, not necessarily today, we'll be watching for a gap fill play in XOM, in Exxon. So that will be interesting. Just checking with Sterling, put in all the earnings data. Really appreciate that. So here's your gap up in UPS, but still caught in just a consolidation mess. Let's peek back in at the S&P going into the open. Again, if we start dropping back below about this 40.27 level, let me just see where the harmonics are in this little run up. That's the 50%. So I'll start paying more attention to a breakdown, but even on a drop to here, this is coming into key support. We start getting below 40.23 in the open. If we have negative internals, then I may be looking to target the earlier lows from when it broke out or bottomed around 530 Central. All right. You are welcome, everybody, but I can't get even intraday overly bearish if we hold above this 4027. All right, with that, I need to jump into the open. I will be back with Bob after the close. So again, get your questions ready or anything you want to ask going into the Fed rate hike announcement tomorrow. And we will see everyone after the close. Bye for now.